Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, football fans. I am Ryan Cato here with Hunter Thompson. We're back talking about this draft class. We are the Backups, a football podcast. Um, this week, as you know, if you listen to the episode from last week, we're going to be talking about this wide receiver class, which Hunter and I have found to be absurdly deep. Um, it is impossible to create top tens for. We've only been doing like top fives in some of our position groups, and we had trouble even creating top 15s or top 20s in this class. So it's just stupid deep. But hopefully we'll hit on the guys you like. If we don't, shoot us a message on Twitter at the Backups Cast. We actually have access to the account now because we found the password. So Hunter, how you feeling today?
Pretty good. Yeah, if you missed last week's episode, we talked about linebackers. Yeah, we couldn't really tweet that one out because we didn't have access to the Twitter account because we forgot the password.
But we're back and better than ever.
Exactly. But as you guys know, technical difficulties are the bane of our existence and the reason we're not considered a top tier podcast by many. But we're a top tier podcast in your hearts, and that's what matters.
True, and that's what we get for starting a podcast during quarantine. I'm not gonna lie, but we had nothing better to do. It was this or drink all the time, and we were starting to get fat.
We did both. Let's be
right.
honest.
So it didn't stop us from doing either. It's just saying. But anyways, like I said, it's the receiver class, and Hunter and I were talking about this class before we started, and we always get on Skype, run down our top 10s together, and then start recording. And Hunter started telling me his top 10, and we have very similar opinions in the top 10, at least in the top 6.
Like the first 6 are the exact same.
Which is crazy. I mean, maybe we only talk to each other too much. Maybe we got to get some more opinions. But I hadn't even really talked to you about this receiver class that much. We've talked about a lot of other things, and
yeah, we talked about a lot of the later guys. We don't ever really talk about the top guys.
Right. That's why I was so surprised. But we can run it down, I guess, because we have the same top 6. Let's just run down the top 6, and we'll go one by one, just discussing them. And then once we get outside of that, we can actually do the thing we normally do.
Oh yeah, for sure. So, do you want to kick off? And you
yeah,
do one, and then
I'll do. Yeah, I'll do. There we go.
All right, let's do it.
Number 1, we both have Jamar Chase out of LSU. 6'1", 208. I mean, he opted out last year, or this past year rather, but the year before on that crazy Joe Burrow-led LSU offense, he was a monster. 1,780 yards and 20 touchdowns. Was unstoppable. You saw him mess up AJ Terrell in the championship game. I don't think that has changed. I think that there's some recency bias with people putting Jamar Chase lower, but I think he's still clearly wide receiver 1.
Yeah, Jamar Chase is 100% the best receiver in the class. Well, okay, I'm not going to say that. Because number 2 is Devontae Smith, the Heisman winner. And I've been flip-flopping back and forth between Smith and Chase as my 1 and 2 all year. And I saw it was Paul Duncan quote tweeted a tweet from, I don't remember who, but I remember it was Paul. And it was essentially, since we aren't, getting paid to talk about Devontae Smith, have a job on the line with our rankings and stuff, we can sit here and say Devontae Smith at 6'1", 175 pounds will succeed in the NFL. We can fall into that fantasy. But if you're sitting here getting paid or have a job in the industry, do you really want to bank on an outlier like Devontae Smith to be the best receiver in the draft class when you have Jamar Chase right there? And so that's why I solidified Chase as my 1. But onto Devontae Smith, the Heisman winner. Dude is a stud and is the highest ranked Alabama receiver that I've had in the past 2 draft classes. He's higher than Waddle, higher than Judy, higher than Henry Ruggs. Smith is good. Smith is really good. The way the way he creates separation on routes without necessarily using size, because he's not very big, is just incredible. His route running is precise. His body control is incredible, and he's just used across the offense in so many different forms and fashions. And it's just, dude is good. Like, when you think of a good football player, DeVonta Smith is like the guy that I think of.
Yeah. I mean, he's very good technically, an excellent route runner. And the only thing that does bother me is the body size. I mean, I think the NFL is just becoming increasingly physical and athletic. And, you don't want to bet on an anomaly. If you look at, the difference between Jamar Chase and DeVonta Smith physically, it's 30 pounds. And 30 pounds is a lot, man. I don't know. It just makes me nervous. But I still have DeVonta Smith at my 2. And ahead of a lot of other receivers in this draft, despite it being a deep draft class, because he's so polished. How would you rank the 4 Alabama receivers from these last 2 draft classes? Because for me it'd be Smith, Jeudy, Waddle, Ruggs.
Yeah, I'd probably go the same order. Smith and Jeudy are the clear-cut top 2, and then probably Waddle and then Ruggs are very close in fashion too. I do think Waddle brings more to the offense than Ruggs, and I think Smith has better, more reliable hands than Jeudy, while still being good at route running and everything also.
Well, and Judy's hands weren't necessarily an issue in the pre-draft process, but we did see a lot of drops this past year. It's really interesting though how both these past 2 years we've had an insane route running technician and a speed guy coming from Alabama. But yeah, I mean, DeVonta Smith, he doesn't need to be physical at the catch point because he gets so much separation off his route running. I think it's incredibly impressive. So, like I said, I don't like betting on anomalies, but if you're going to bet on one, DeVonta Smith is that guy.
Oh, for sure. All right. Who you got at number 3?
Yeah. Rashad Bateman, is who we got at 3 here. I didn't like betting on a speed guy last year, and I don't like doing it again this year. Although I'm not gonna, crap on Waddle. He is an insane receiver. But I have Rashad Bateman above him. I think that in, like I said, a physical NFL, especially, he played a lot of the slots in college. I think you're going to have to be dealing with a lot of contested catch guys. It reminds me a lot of Allen Robinson. And he's not a bad route runner either. I mean, it's not like he has a super diverse route tree, but he's got really good feet from what I've seen on the tape.
Yeah, so when I look at Rashad Bateman, I think of, honestly, the comp that keeps coming to mind for me is Michael Thomas.
Okay.
Just a guy that gets open with solid route running, pretty solid hand. He's just a very solid receiver all the way through. I know I just said that about DeVonta Smith too, but with Bateman, it's kind of similar fashion. I think Bateman could be a wide receiver 1 or at least a 2 in most other classes, and be the consensus 1 or 2 in most other classes. But with this class, having Chase and Smith it's hard. And I feel like Bateman's the one who's constantly being forgotten about in this top tier of receivers. I know a lot of people have been mocking him at the end of round 1 to Baltimore or something. And if he falls all the way that far, my God, the Ravens are getting an absolute steal. This dude will step up and help elevate the Ravens passing game to being good.
I mean,
it's not.
I think at this point, I mean, if he falls to 15, the Patriots could very much be in the running to get Rashad Bateman. It's interesting too. I was just looking at the 2 comps we just made were Allen Robinson and Mike Thomas. Both of those guys have 2 inches, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it is a lot on Rashad Bateman. But it just shows. I mean, he plays much bigger than he is, and I think he's kind of been neutered by that Minnesota offense, and people have forgotten how good he is. I think he's really excellent. You want to talk about Oh,
I definitely think he got handicapped by Tanner Morgan. But
for sure.
Number
For
4,
sure.
we have Jalen Waddle.
Yeah.
The speedster from Alabama. I know some people have him as wide receiver 1, some have him as 2, some have him as 3, and we have him at 4. I'm gonna be honest. The reason he's this low for me is I just don't like that speed, over the top, deep threat type of receiver very much as like an archetype that I really like, because we don't really see it succeed at the next level very much, with the exception of Tyreek Hill.
Right.
I feel like more often than not we see Ted Gins and John Rosses show up, which, don't get me wrong, Ted Ginn was very good in his own right, but he was never a number 1 like people were expecting him to be, you know? And I think Waddle could be a perfect supplement to an offense to take them over the hump to become a dominant offense. But I don't know if he's ever going to be the guy in an offense.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think he's a wide receiver 1 on a team. I think he is a supplement, like you said. Definitely a guy that is used to open up the offense with his speed. I mean, the reason that I would have him ranked over Ruggs from last year, who Ruggs was also my receiver 4 behind T. Higgins, but the reason I'd have him ranked behind or in front of Ruggs is because I think he can play more of the field than Ruggs could. Ruggs was a really one-dimensional, like deep threat guy. You throw him on a go route, and they have to play deep zone, and so then you can hit your guys over the middle like Darren Waller on that Raiders team, which is why we didn't see a lot of production from Ruggs. But I think Waddle can play more levels of the field, and which is why I'd have him ranked above him. But I still think that there's parts of his game that make him not the complete package at receiver, like I see in Jamar Chase, in Devontae Smith, and in Rashad Bateman. So Jalen Waddle's still an excellent receiver, though. I mean, he's a first-round receiver.
Jalen Waddle, like, I don't know. Like, I don't really like forcing comps, but, like, this one has also kind of been stuck with me. Because, like, I don't have a comp really for Chase. Don't really have a comp for Smith. Okay, no, it's a lie. I have a comp for Smith.
Yeah.
But the comp for Waddle that I keep falling back to is honestly kind of like Odell Beckham.
Huh.
Like, I think he's a huge yak guy. I think he has the ability to be the big play threat. I don't think he's as good as Odell is. Odell can really take over games, and I think Waddle can do that same ability, but they're similar in the sense that neither one's really a possession receiver to be the constant one moving the offense. They're both just like big play threats.
Yeah. I think Beckham is probably more athletic at the catch point, but then Waddle's faster. So that's an interesting comp, though, for sure. I could definitely see the comparison. Number 5, we have another SEC West receiver, which is crazy that out of our top 5, it's 4 of them are from the same division of the same conference. But Terrace Marshall at 5. I feel like that's not somebody you see at, I feel like normally you look at wide receiver rankings, you see him at 8, maybe 9. But Terrace Marshall is very good. I mean, he definitely shown this year, last year, with Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson kind of ruling that offense in 2019 in the championship year, like we talked about. 2020 was definitely a better year. But if you look at like statistically, like double-digit touchdowns in 8 games, something like that. So I think he's a very solid X, and I love a good physical X receiver, but 6'3", 200, 205, something like that. He could be a really solid piece in an offense.
Oh, for sure. I know some people question his heart for being there and like being a player, and because he kind of opted out mid-season, and just some people say that he didn't really give it his all on tape or whatever. I don't care. Dude is an athlete, and I'm almost willing to take the gamble on him. Dude's a stud. He's just a big. Well, he's not even that big. Well, I
He's
mean,
tall.
he's tall,
got long wingspan too.
Yeah, but like he's so good at making like being a traditional X, like you were saying.
Yeah, and I mean his route running isn't too bad either. I mean he can create separation in that way. I don't know. I wonder what his last clocked 40 was. I don't even know if I have it.
He ran today.
He was incredibly fast, right?
At the pro day. Yeah, let me
I gotta look for it real quick.
He
4.38.
Damn you beat me to it by just a second. I literally pulled it up as you started saying 4.38.
Yeah, so a 4.38. I mean,
39-inch vertical.
Yeah.
Measuring in a 6'2", 205.
Yeah. So I mean, he and Jamar Chase are both actually like pretty similar sizes, and run the same 40. But I don't know. I think there could be a really excellent player there. Looking maybe that is the Baltimore Ravens pick that we're looking for.
It could be, and I think that would be a very good spot for him.
Yeah, because it's not Sammy Watkins, right? I mean,
yeah,
Sammy Watkins can't be their ex.
No, Sammy Watkins is basically the Willie Snead signing all over again.
Right, and it wasn't Dez, so.
No.
I mean, they keep trying. It's more power to them, but
I respect them for trying. It's just it's a shame that it's not working.
Yeah.
All right, on to the last one that we have the same. Number 6, Darius Toney from the University of Florida. 5 of our 6 top 5 guys are from the SEC. I swear to God, we're not that biased, but Kadarius Toney is a human joystick, bro. Like, you get the ball in his hands in any fashion, and he's going to make people miss. He's going to take it for a big play, and he's going to make it fun and like make it exciting. I don't know how. I guess I'd line him up probably as a slot guy predominantly, but he's electric. Okay. Let me. Oh, okay. Sorry. I thought that was his stats, but that was his. He was a quarterback in college, or in high school, I mean.
Huh.
Yeah, Kadarius Toney was a quarterback, a dual threat quarterback, and is now a receiver. But Toney is very much the definition of a yards after catch guy. Fantastic on like these bubble screens, quick slants, anything to like use his quick acceleration to beat guys. He's not the best route runner and has pretty solid hands, but he's so electric when you get the ball in his hands that you have to figure out a way to use him in the passing game.
Yeah.
But this is where my first round grades end. And Kadarius Toney is a second round grade on my board. But if he goes in the first round, do not be shocked.
Yeah, I mean, we saw last year kind of a run on receivers there. You know, we had Ruggs, Judy, and Lamb all go in top 17, and then Rager, Jefferson, and Brandon Ayuk. Is that everybody?
Yes.
Okay. And then T. Higgins at the very top of the second.
T. Higgins, Claypool, all went second
third,
round.
Yeah. I think Claypool was a third.
Oh, geez.
I think Mims was a second. But either way, sure. I mean, I think that this is going to be a really similar receiver class. We're going to see, some guys go in the first and the top of the second that maybe we have a little bit lower grades on, but it's just such a crazy class. But yeah, like you were saying about Toney, I still have him as a first round grade, but he is electric with the ball in his hands. I mean, yak guy, this is like the definition of it. And so I think that you could see him used in a gadget type way just because they want the ball in his hands. They don't need him running routes necessarily or getting out into open field. They just get the ball in his hands, maybe some jet sweep type things, see him out of the backfield, etc. Obviously, he's not a receiver one or like a possession receiver that you're going to use for every down, but I think he's an offensive weapon. And so getting him on the field and getting the ball in his hands, I think is a really scary thing to deal with because he will make you miss.
Yeah, dude, between Toney and Kyle Pitts, There's a reason Kyle Trask was in the Heisman race for so long.
Yeah.
Both of them are just incredibly gifted athletes who elevate an offense, especially when paired with someone else that's good.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And like we said, that is where the similarities end on our list. Our last four, I'm pretty sure we have four different players, both of us. Like, none of mine are the same as any of yours. So we'll be back to our traditional back and forth. So tell me about your 7.
Yeah, so my wide receiver 7 is Shi Smith from the University of South Carolina. I'm going to be honest, I'm a little bit of a homer on this pick, but after watching him in Mobile, because he was the one who was lining up like behind Kadarius Toney in every single drill, there's not that big of a difference between the two of them. Toney's a bit more of a better athlete than Smith, but Smith is going to be one of those guys who's going to carve out a nice career as a team's wide receiver 3, maybe wide receiver 2, and he's just going to do a 10-year career somewhere. Is that getting 700 to 1,000 yards every year, and it's going to be awesome. Smooth route runner, plays kind of like a DB where he's in your face as a defender. Like, he's not afraid of contact as a receiver. He's willing to play physical. He's not very big either. He's 5'10", 186, and dude's just good. Like, I know I've been saying that about all these receivers, but he's just very, very good.
Yeah. I definitely noticed he had really clean feet in Mobile. That was what I mean, Toney would go, and then I'd watch Shi Smith right behind him, and I'd be like, damn, like Shi Smith's feet are actually cleaner than Toney's.
Dude, that's what I'm saying. There was no noticeable difference other than probably Toney's straight line speed and like burst, but even then, like it wasn't that big of a difference. Like, I feel like Shi Smith is being slept on in this draft class, and I think he might be one of the biggest steals in this upcoming cycle.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's because of the talent surrounding him wasn't too much help. A lot like some of these guys from the less successful programs that we're seeing. I mean, if you don't see anybody for real throw into him, he's not going to have as much production. But I think if you really look at the tape, watch him move, he's a good looking receiver. Not in my top 10, but I think he'd be somewhere close after. My 7 is Rondale Moore. I think he's a lot like Kadarius Toney. He's a little small. That makes me nervous. But otherwise, I mean, another crazy gadget yak guy. And I think if he didn't have his injury concerns that we've talked about quite a bit, he'd probably be still ranked higher than Kadarius Toney. People, again, it's recency bias. People forget how electric he was in 2018. So I don't know. I think he's going to be a really solid weapon. We saw somebody like Laviska Shenault last year, just like a Swiss Army knife type guy. Not that they're very comparable, but I think in usage they will be. And so Laviska Shenault hasn't really had his breakout yet, but I think that could be coming, and I think the same will come for Rondale Moore.
That's a pretty good one. Spoiler alert: Rondale Moore's not in my top 10. So
right, that's how it goes.
That's just. It's not a knock on Moore. I think that's just a testament for how good this receiver class is.
Yeah.
Do you want to hit 8, or do you want to let me hit 8?
I'll hit 8, and then you can hit 8, and then
right, got you.
We'll keep on going. My 8 is Amon-Ra St. Brown out of USC. I don't know. I think he's just a solid receiver. It's not like I don't think that there's anything super crazy that he that sticks out to me, which is why I think he's fallen on my list some. I think he's just a receiver I can count on, and that might put him in the first round conversation for some teams, just because it's a very high floor guy. He's not going to bust out As long as he, doesn't develop any drop problems or anything like that, he's just a solid receiver. 6'1", just about 200, and there's nothing that is like over the top about his game, but he's good in every level of play. And I think he could play in several different kinds of offenses. You just plug him in where you need him and tell him what to do, and he'll do it. Definitely notice though his ball skills. I think he's got great hands. So as long as that doesn't change, then I think he is a solid pick. Probably in the second round of this year's draft.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, we used to compare Chris Olave and Amon-Ra St. Brown together a lot. And like kind of like would put them in the same tier with like Terrace Marshall as like that fringe, like first round and stuff. But then that was like early in the draft cycle, at least for me. But Amon-Ra St. Brown is such a good slot guy and I don't think he's ever going to wow you, but he's just going to be one of those guys who's going to constantly just move the chain to be a good possession receiver for an offense. And those types of guys I feel like are being overlooked by a lot of people nowadays because they're looking for like the big play, highlight reel receivers, and you don't always need that to be successful.
Yeah, I think that's what we're seeing with most positions. We talked a little bit about in our linebacker episode, which, like Hunter said, if you haven't gotten to listen to that, go ahead and go listen. We talked a little bit about Nick Bolton and how he's got that pop, he's got that flash, but in terms of being a solid every down, will always be there for you type linebacker, he doesn't have it. And I think, it's the same kind of thing with some of these receivers. You have guys who are really good, but aren't going to be an every down type guy. Sometimes, like some of these guys, you're going to have to scheme around. And I don't think that that's always the best thing in the NFL. Sometimes you just need a solid receiver. So.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Okay, my number 8 in this draft class is Tylan Wallace from OK State. So I first caught eyes on Tylan Wallace when I was watching Chuba Hubbard, which is disappointing on its own if you haven't watched Chuba Hubbard yet. But Tylan Wallace was just constantly making plays down the sideline for OK State. And I was like, man, who is this guy? And so I looked him up, and he was kind of like winning on all these big 50-50 balls, like downfield. And so I was like, all right, cool. He's probably like a 6'2" jump ball guy type thing, typical X. No. Tylan Wallace is 5'11", 193, and a lot more of a Z receiver. Dude has solid speed, but I don't know how he wins with his size, but he can win on so many 50-50 balls. And I guess he's just that good at hitting the ball at the point of attack, or just using body control to like squeeze past DBs or something. I'm not quite sure what it is, but he makes it work. He's a very efficient route runner, very good hands, but watching the grit and determination that he brings to really win at the point of attack puts him on my list. Dude is good. He was kind of hidden by OK State's kind of air raid offense type of thing that they have going. So his route tree isn't massive, but the routes that he runs, he is very, very efficient in. And I think he's going to be an absolute gem for a team.
Yeah, that is the one thing that, kind of makes me nervous is, wow, we got so much thunder outside. Holy cow, that shook my house.
Wow, that's what that is in the background?
Yeah, that's thunder. So if you're listening to this, we're recording in the middle of a storm. But yeah, that is the one thing that scares me about those receivers coming from those type of offenses. It was a little bit different with CD Lamb last year. We saw more of what he could do. But Tylan Wallace, yeah, the route tree is a little bit small, but he's definitely a physically gifted receiver. And I think, coached up by the right offensive mind, he'll be a great option. especially, when we're talking about into that second round, etc. Tell me about your 9.
Yeah, my wide receiver 9 is Amari Rogers from Clemson.
Mm-hmm.
Amari Rogers is one of those guys that, like, when I sit here and watch him, I want to pick out flaws with his game, but it's so hard for me too. I know he's not the fastest or the biggest or anything. He comes clocking in at 5'9.5", 211 pounds. So he's kind of built like a running back. But what Rogers does is just good. He's a slot receiver who is kind of gimmicked around the offense. Sometimes they'll throw him on bubble screen. Sometimes they'll bring him around in motion, do a little pitch out or something to him. They figure out ways to get him the ball. He was the go-to guy for their offense, and he was kind of one of Lawrence's top targets this past season with Justin Ross being out. He's fantastic in the short and middle ranges of the field, and just he's good. I know that he's not the biggest or the fastest or anything, but he brings soft hands and a different type of physical build to the receiver position that we don't really see. And it lets him play a different type of game than a traditional slot receiver. When we look at traditional slot receivers, it's typically more of a thin-framed guy. But Rogers isn't that. Rogers is kind of built like a bowling ball type. He's literally built similarly to Javonte Williams. And having something like that in the slot changes what you do and what you can do on offense. And it's just really impressive to see.
Yeah, whenever I watch Amari Rogers, it always makes me miss Justin Ross. Like the core when it was like T. Higgins, Rogers, and Ross, that was a crazy year. But
that was an insane offense.
Yeah, that was stupid because that was ETN and T-Law too. But yeah, I think Rogers, like you said, got schemed open a lot and was really helped by excellent quarterback play. But if that's what you're looking for, in a receiver, especially on an offense like, I mean, they don't need it this year, but San Francisco or even like the Rams, I think that they could really benefit from a guy like that in that short passing game. Even I like, God, it was on the tip of my tongue. I don't know who I was about to talk about. It doesn't matter. But I like had a team in mind, and then I was like, oh yeah, even the. Just kidding. So, anyways,
that happens to me all the time.
But yeah, I think some teams like that could really benefit from Amari Rogers. And we're getting into rounds. Or wide receiver 9, wide receiver 10, etc. We're looking at some like later, like late day 2 picks, round 3, stuff like that. But these guys are still really solid options. So it's crazy how deep this class goes.
Yeah, incredibly loaded class. Like, still, I'm sitting here looking at guys that I did not put in my top 10.
Right.
And I'm just sitting here. I'm like, well, all these guys would be in the 7 to 15 range if we went to 15, but we're not.
Right. I mean, we could go to 20 and we'll still be missing guys, and we'll hit some targets after we finish our top 10s, because like there's going to be some guys where I'm like, dang, I really should have included them. But my last 2 guys are have similar tools, I guess. They're similar players in that they're both developmental X receivers. I learned from last year that if I like a player, I should just throw him in my top 10 or throw him in my top 15, put him on my big board because I believe in the potential of these guys. And so at least putting them at the end, developed in the right way, I think they'll both be solid. But my wide receiver 9 is Nico Collins out of Michigan. I think that it may have been better if he had played this last season. We could have seen more of what he's made of. I mean, it was a senior season, but he's an incredibly physical big X receiver, and I love that. I mean, he's sitting at 6'4". I just think that he could be a very strong X receiver down the boundary because so many corners are getting smaller and smaller. He's just gonna out physical them. I mean, he's got pretty good speed for a guy his size, and so like I really believe in Nico Collins as a pro player.
Yeah. Yeah, Nico Collins is one of those guys that I personally struggled to evaluate because a lot of his tape had Shea Patterson throwing him the ball.
Right.
Backup fan favorite, Shea Patterson. But he has the tools, but I'm just not sure how good he can actually be. I don't really see him being anything more than Michael Jenkins was for the Falcons, if anybody remembers him, which is just a very, very mediocre number 2 in X receiver. But yeah, I mean, he's decent and solid as an X, but I just don't know how good he can actually be.
I mean, I think overall,
I think I'd rather have Sage Surratt instead of Nico Collins.
I think that's fair. I mean, I think those are both. I like when we're talking about developmental X's. I think those are the same kind of deal. I mean, I don't know, when you're 6'4" and you're running a 4.4, that's pretty impressive.
I mean, his physical tools are there 100%,
right.
But his route running just did not look that great to me. I'll have to go back and rewatch because I've been seeing Nico Collins getting a lot of love on the timeline recently.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to make sure I'm not missing anything. But I don't love it.
Well, then tell me about your 9.
I already did with Amari Rogers.
Oh, sorry. Tell me about your 10, rather.
My number 10 is Elijah Moore from Ole Miss. Yeah, so I kind of have a type with my receivers. I like slot receivers. I do not slot shame. Unlike Ryan Cato. But Elijah Moore is 5'9", 185. And he's kind of like a hybrid because they line him up outside, they line him up in the slot. They just move him around to make use of his ability. Very quick, very efficient route runner, good hands, a big play threat for sure. Absolutely kind of abysmal as a blocker, but that's just what happens when you get a guy that's 5'9", 185 pounds. But dude can also do kick returns too. But he's really fun to watch in general because of his big play threat ability, which is why he made my list as opposed to some of the other guys that I think could also be here, who bring the same thing. I don't know. I preferred Elijah Moore's tape to Rondale Moore or the Diami Brown's tape. And plus I got to watch Matt Corral while watching Elijah Moore, and that's always fun if you haven't done that. But yeah, I don't know, man. I kind of like slot receivers and the shiftier Z's. So I kind of just have a soft spot for those guys.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that there's a lot of 5'9", 185 receivers in this draft. And you're gonna see so many guys just like Elijah Moore. I mean, we talked about Rondale Moore, but Diami Brown is a slot, but he's not that size. But Dwayne Estridge is that size.
Tutu Atwell
is a lot smaller, but still the same height.
Tutu's 5'7", 155.
I thought he was 5'9". Did he measure in at 5'7"?
Yeah.
Yeah, 155 is tiny.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's players like that. I mean, I feel like there's just so many of them. I think there are a dime a dozen slot receivers are. But I understand the appeal just because of production. I mean, receiving yards wise, Moore was the second most productive receiver this year in only 8 games. So I mean, only behind obviously our Heisman winner, but he played all 13. My wide receiver 10 is Jonathan Adams Jr. out of Arkansas State. I am going to stick to my guns on this one.
Tell me about Jonathan Adams Jr. because I think you're the only person that has him ranked this high.
Jonathan Adams Jr., listen, I stuck to my guns because I think he will make an excellent NFL receiver. He is a bit developmental, but in this NFL's vertical passing game, he's going to make such a threat as a wide receiver one, X receiver in the NFL. An absolutely insane production this year in the NCAA. I mean, he played 10 games and went for 1,100 yards and 12 touchdowns. Obviously, he's playing against Group of Five, but it's not like it's FCS. The guy's playing against like Group of Five teams, and so I think he's incredibly physical. He's fast. He ran almost sub 4.4 today or yesterday, something like that. He ran like 4.41. Before he was clocked at 4.59. He's gotten much faster. And I think he's a solid. He's got solid acceleration, which allows him to get separation right from the start. And for a guy that big, that is always impressive. I mean, I feel like I'm saying that about a couple of guys, couple of X receivers in this draft, but I think he's got insane athleticism that's going to make him an over the top kind of receiver.
Yeah, it's really wild. Like watching, like looking at each of our top tens, and the fact we have such an archetype we fall to.
Yeah. I mean, once
the X receivers, I love the slots and Z guys.
Once we get we have our top guys ranked at the same. Like literally 1 through 6, because we have the really good receivers in this draft. And you said Kadarius Toney is where your first round grades in. That's like I have a first round grade on Kadarius Toney, but we're about the same. And then outside of that, it's like it could be anything, you know.
Like,
so
everybody's kind of like there's a lot of guys that get like the day 2 grades in this draft.
Yeah, too many guys that get the day 2 grades. So it is going to be an insane class for receivers. Why don't we hit real quick on first round looks for receivers? What teams could we be seeing going after receivers in that first round? And then we'll finish off with one more top 5 because we do have a new draft order.
Yeah, perfect. So just make sure I got this right. We're going to hit guys that could go receiver early.
Yep. And then top 5. So who do you expect to see go receiver early? Maybe first round this year.
I think weirdly enough, Atlanta has a possibility to maybe trade back into the first to do it. I think Miami has a shot too. I think Cincy has a shot. New England's on the table. Detroit's very much on the table. Baltimore's on the table. I feel like I'm missing someone.
I think the Eagles probably.
Eagles
will take receiver at 12. Yeah, because I'm just looking through this top group. I mean, Miami, I think will definitely pick one at 6. I think they pick whichever Alabama receiver they want. I think the Lions will probably pick the other one. And if the Eagles get Jamar Chase at 12, I'm going to scream.
Bro, there's no way he says that far, right?
I mean, supposedly, but like if Miami and the Lions are the only 2 that go, I think that they could both pick Alabama receivers. It'd be crazy. I think the Bears could also be a spot for a receiver, although I could definitely see them going tackle as well. Super interesting though to look at with this new draft order that we have going on. With it being a little shaken up with the San Francisco, Miami, Philadelphia trade, we could see an entirely different top 5. So you still got the same guy to go in number 1 overall?
Oh, dude, it's going to be McCorkle Jones, right?
No,
Just kidding, guys.
no,
It's with
but
Trevor Lawrence. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Dude's too good. I did find it interesting that Meyer was at the BYU Pro Day and at the Ohio State Pro Day while not being at the NDSU Pro Day, though.
yeah, I think it's pretty much locked in at this point. They had that one press conference where they were saying it looks like Trevor Lawrence is the way they're going to go. I mean, I don't see any reason to go anywhere else. We don't need to overthink it. It's really interesting, though. I'm looking at Draft Network's predictive board right now, and they have Mac Jones at 3. So
yeah, I was doing some mocks
we'll get
earlier.
to that. Yeah,
it's weird seeing his name that high.
it is so weird. We'll get to that in a minute, though. At pick 2, who do you think the New York Jets are going?
Okay, so they're going to go with Zach Wilson, but it
Right.
should be Justin Fields.
Yeah, that's how I feel too. You want to talk about a guy who's been overthought? Justin Fields is that guy. I mean, good Lord.
Don't get me wrong. I have some knocks on Justin Fields' game, but to not act like he's my QB3 because I like Trey Lance's upside, but to not act like he's the second best quarterback right off the hop behind Lawrence is absurd. Like, dude has the ability to hit any throw. He has the athletic tools of an absolute freak and is just good. Like,
yeah.
I mean, there's some knocks that I have on his tape. Like, I don't love his processing time, but a lot of that has to do with the Ohio State offense. I don't really love his decision making. Once again, falls back on the Ohio State offense. But he's still a better quarterback than Wilson.
Yeah, I completely agree. I don't think it should be Wilson either. He's going to go number 2, I think, though. Number 3, I think it's like pretty much locked in that the 49ers traded up for a quarterback here, which is looking at that trade. They traded like multiple first-round picks for a rookie quarterback.
Ballsy. I will give them that.
I respect John Lynch a whole lot. I do not understand that trade up, but clearly Miami saw that pick as very with having a lot of worth. So who do you think they go at 3? You think it's a quarterback?
Yeah, I mean, they switched this year's first round picks and gave up the 2022 and the 2023 first round picks. So you don't give up that much for Penei Sewell or
Right.
Kyle Pitts. I obviously think they jumped Atlanta on purpose because I think everyone's been linking Atlanta with a quarterback. And I think the Niners go Justin Fields here.
Okay. Yeah, I think it could be Justin Fields. I think it could be Trey Lance. A lot of people are talking about Mac Jones, dude.
Yeah, if Mac Jones goes number 3 overall to the Niners, I don't know what I'll do yet, but we're going to be live streaming the draft or
Right.
first round or recording or something. And I don't know what I'll do yet, but I will do something.
Yeah,
on live camera.
I have a feeling that it's more possible than we think.
I think so too, because I think Shanahan is weird as hell about his quarterbacks. Like, they took Kirk Cousins in the same draft as RG3 when he was on the Washington coaching staff because he liked Kirk Cousins that much.
Right.
And he's been trying to fight to get Kirk Cousins wherever he goes because he likes Kirk Cousins.
I think it's interesting.
And Mac fits that same build.
I think the main team, though, that you'd have to be worried about taking Mac would be the Carolina Panthers at 8. So maybe they couldn't get the trade up with the Eagles, or they couldn't get the trade up with the Lions. Like, I'm not entirely sure.
I think they did. I think they could have gotten there, but I think they were just trying to get as high as possible to make sure they got their guy.
Yeah, just in case of another trade up in front of Atlanta. I
Exactly,
don't know,
because
like the Panthers.
If I'm the Panthers and I watched the Niners jump to 6 with the Eagles, and then just try to stay put there, I'm doing everything I can to get in front of them.
Yeah, that's true. it's going to be an insane draft because at number 4, obviously the Falcons are picking. Do you think they still go QB with 3 QBs taken? You think they want QB still?
Yeah, I think they want Lance.
Yeah.
I know that Pitts is very much on the table, but I think Lance is what they end up doing because the long-term picture that Atlanta's trying to paint is being ready for 2023. And as good as Pitts is, I don't know if I can if I'm the GM, I don't know if I could justify passing up a potential franchise quarterback for a Darren Waller because Kyle Pitts and Darren Waller tested about the same. All their physical traits are about the same. So can you pick a guy that might be Darren Waller at best and OJ Howard at worst at pick 4?
I mean, I don't know if Darren Waller's a ceiling. I could see him being better than Darren Waller. But I still think he's receiver 1. I'm not sure if they should pick Pitts at 4. I mean, I'm team trade down. If we have to do something there, I think it's trade down, pick defense, keep building. But if you're gonna stick and pick, you got to pick a quarterback. And then at 5, you have the Cincinnati Bengals. I think Sewell's still the pick, but people are talking like Sewell's not the pick anymore.
Bro, I think it's Jamar Chase. I think Jamar Chase.
Why is it Jamar Chase? Why?
Okay, so they just signed Riley Reef in free agency.
That's not the answer.
They have Jonah Williams, who plays very well at left tackle. Are you going to draft Sewell to play left guard?
No, you're gonna kick either Williams or Reef to guard, and you're gonna play Sewell at tackle. And plus,
I don't think that's off the table. But it's also the Bengals who have the smallest scouting department in the NFL. You know that they were sitting here watching Joe Burrow last year, the one scout that they have, and they're like, that receiver's pretty good. And talking about Jamar Chase and seeing him at pick 5, and they're like, oh, hey, that's the guy that our quarterback had a lot of touchdowns to. Let's get him.
Yeah, I mean, geez, if they're smart, they go Sewell. I bet Sewell or
if
I bet
Chase
makes a lot of sense.
If they're smart, they try to trade back from 5.
Yeah, but I mean, Miami could pick Sewell at 6.
You can get Slater or Darrisaw or this tackle class is also very, very good.
Yeah, I just think I don't know. I think the Bengals will be in a peculiar situation if they pick a receiver at 5. But, who knows? We could see a trade back with another quarterback needy team. If we see 5 quarterbacks go in the top 5, I'll probably lose my mind. But it's very possible it's your class.
It's terrifying to see that that's even a possibility this year because there's no reason that all 5 quarterbacks should be going top 5.
Yeah, not at all. But, like we said, I mean, it's quarterback needy. It's very top heavy, and next year's class isn't looking the best. So it's going to be a very interesting top of this class, and we are getting close to about an hour, which is nice. We're having good discussion. We're going to start wrapping up. Is there anything you have to say to the people?
We at the backups are for the people. I don't know what else I wanted to go with off of that, but we're for the people, and I just want everybody to know that.
That's facts. We are for the people. Hopefully you are enjoying these draft class episodes. If you are, shoot us a message on Twitter. Like I said, we're back in the account. Subscribe to us on YouTube and tell your moms about us. Please. We're begging you. We're begging you.
We're your mom's favorite podcast.
That's facts. Hopefully everybody has a fantastic day and I was about to close this out. What are we doing next time, Hunter?
Have we done tackles yet?
No, we haven't done tackles. We're doing tackles.
So you want to do wait, we did receivers. We got to do defense. Edge next week?
All right, it's Edge week next week.
Oh, thank God. Yeah. I love Edge week.
All right, join us next week for Edge week. Hopefully you're having a great rest of your day. Thank you for joining us. We will see you next time.